In this video, we will be revamping our map and our zombie spawning mechanics in preparation for training our agent. This time around, to start off with, we're going to have a lot that we're doing this episode, but we're going to start off with creating some obstacles. So we're going to do world. We're going to actually go ahead and we're going to move ground and walls into the world environment, keep it kind of all organized. Then we're going to create an empty, and we're going to call this obstacles. And inside of obstacles, we're going to create obstacles. We're just going to leave them named as cube. Doesn't really matter. But we can come down here and we will increase their size. And I'm going to kind of just have a standard size. Like I'll just keep duplicating this. And then we can, position it however we see fit. You can rotate it, slide it around, and I'm just going to run through and put a bunch of these, and we'll be right back. That should be good. You can organize them however you want. You don't need to do the same as I did. You can do more. You can do less. In fact, this is my third time going through it and creating different ones. I'll put up on the screen different kinds that I've done, and you'll notice little additional things in there. We're going to create those in a moment. But let's go over to our agent. We're going to pop into the gun, our raised detectable tags. Forgot to add these last time. So we're going to add them in. We want to be able to see the zombie. We want to be able to see the wall. And we want to make sure that's capitalized because we have the tag capitalized. And obstacle, which actually, now that I think about it, I forgot to give these a tag. We're going to name it obstacle. We'll save, go back into the cube. And in fact, let's see, can we highlight all of them and change them all at one time? That would be very handy. We can. Cool. All of these obstacles are tagged obstacle, and we are able to see the obstacle objects. Now what we're going to do for the zombie navigation, you could, if you wanted to, make it an agent and do some reinforcement learning, training on it in order to, have a zombie from scratch. I didn't feel like having two different ones here. If you do want to have a, agent for the zombie, pretty much the same setup as like what we have for the agent here. You can check out the pellet grabber series, the other series that I've done on this channel. I go into having two agents. Very last video of the series covers that, and you can see how I did that. But for here, we're going to actually use a Navmesh. So we're going to go up here in the window, and we're going to go to package manager and Unity registry. We don't want in project, we want the registry, and we're going to look up AI navigation right here. We're going to install it. Doesn't take that long. Okay, maybe there we go. That's like, I don't think it took that long. I don't recall it taking long. It's going through compiling the scripts and everything. And I think nope, it's not finished yet. Oh, iteration 2. There we go. We got the navigation now. So let's go into here, window, AI, open up navigation. I'm just going to bring it over here. We're going to change this to zombie. You can leave it as, was it humanoid was a default? It's fine. I'm not going to change any of these other values. You can change them though if you want, and it'll just dictate basically how wide or narrow, how tall, what your agent can, or your, not really agent, but your AI can walk up and stuff. We're not going to have anything that they walk up, at least not currently. And we're not having anything that they jump or anything like that. I just changed the name to zombie because I want to. And we have all of these as child of world, so that's good. Now let's go ahead and minimize this, go into our world, the inspector, and we're going to add a nav mesh. I already have nav typed in, and we're going to add a nav mesh surface. And we have zombie. If you didn't change it, it would be humanoid. If you change it to something else, it would be whatever you changed it to. Default area we want is walkable. Object collection. We're going, collect objects, and change it to current object hierarchy. And it's basically everything within the hierarchy, so within world, it's going to take into account when, for what we can walk through and what we can't, which is the obstacles, walls, and ground. So we're going to go here, and we're going to bake. And you can see here, all of the blue is the walkable area. Orange is not walkable, so it will avoid that. So it knows where all of the walls are and the obstacles, and it'll walk around them. But nothing's around the agent because the agent isn't part of this hierarchy. We zoom back out. What we want to work on now is we're going to go over to our prefab zombie, and we're going to add a Navmesh agent. And we can change the base offset to 1, and the speed we're going to set to 1, just that way it's slower than our current agent. You can change it however you want. You can make it faster. I'm going to make them slower, and they're all just going to have a standard speed of 1. And then we want to create some spawn locations for them. Now, I did the bake before I put the locations in because of how we have the barrier around the obstacles and the walls. It'll do that on the spawn location, and they'll all get stuck. So you want to add it in after. It's a bit of a pain when you're duplicating for training because you have to go through and manually basically bake everything, but you'll see that. I'll show that later on once we have everything made. But for right now, let's go ahead and create an empty, and it's going to be a spawn area. And then underneath that, we're going to create a 3D object. It's going to be a cube. We're going to name that visual because it's just the visual. Then let's go and expand this out. We're going to make it somewhat of a large area. I don't know why it was going so slow with moving it before. Actually, I think it's a little too large of an area because we're going to want to duplicate this so we don't have to keep remaking it. I think that's good. We'll move them into the corner here, and it's somewhat close to the walls. And these are the things in that screenshot. The screenshots that I showed you, this is what we're making right now. That's what those things were that I mentioned and that you guys saw. You can make it above the ground if you want. I'm making it somewhat close to the ground level. And then let's go and make a material. Create a material. We're going to name it spawn area. And just like we did with the walls, select a color. Let's go with blue. It'll stand out a little bit compared to the green and the orange. And then we're going to make it somewhat transparent and change this to transparent. And we should be able to just drag this on there. There we go. We got a little blue spawn area now. And make sure that you don't... Actually, did I? I did. My bad. Zero all these out. You want to make sure this is all there. I did this before and I was like, why are they all spawning in the wrong areas during testing? You want to move over the parent object, not the visual. You could probably use the visual for their spawn areas, but I use the parent object. You want to make sure it's in the right spot. We're going to copy and paste this and move it over. We're going to have a spawn area in each corner. You could put them anywhere that you want. It's based off the location. I want them in the corners. Copy this one over. That's why we didn't want to go too big because, if we had more obstacles around, it could make it a little bit of a tighter area to fit. But we do actually have plenty of room, and we could add more obstacles in if we wanted to. But we have the spawn area now. We have the visual of the material. So then I think we pretty much just start going into the actual code here. Let me see. Yeah, we're gonna go into the ZombieController. We're gonna work on that. So open up your script for the ZombieController. If you don't already have it open, you can go to your scripts and then select ZombieController. There we go. We're gonna do quite a bit in here. We're going to first off require a component. Require the component type of, and it is going to be of Navmesh agent. Because, this is going to be a Navmesh agent. We want to make sure we have this script. And we're going to have a public transform of the target. So this will be our agent that it's targeting. And we're going to want to be able to access this in our other scripts, so we're making it public. And then we're going to have a serialized field. So that way we can see it within the Unity editor. and it's going to be a float update speed. And this will be how often basically we update the known position of the agent to the zombies. So we're updating like every 1/10 of a second. If you make this a larger number, more time will go without them knowing where it is. With how we have this whole target thing, they're going to always know where the agent is. It's kind of like Call of Duty Zombies. Essentially, it's what we're making here. They know where you are, and they're tracking to you, or navigating to you. And let's make a private Navmesh, Navmesh agent, I should say. And we're going to name this Zombie. I'm going to scoot over so that way I'm a bit more lined up with my keyboard. And kind of diagonal to it makes typing harder. We're going to have a private void awake function. And in here, we're just going to set what zombie is. Zombie equals get component navmesh. That was nice. It auto-filled the correct thing for us. Then private void start. So on start, oops, it also filled in all the other things that I was typing. We're going to start a coroutine. Start coroutine, and we're going to call it follow target. We don't have that written yet. So let's go down here while it's angry at us and actually write this. Private IE numerator. And we're going to name it follow target. So there we go. And why is it mad at us about this? Or maybe it's just because, yeah, it doesn't return a value. That's fine. So wait for seconds. It's going to be a variable of wait of type wait for seconds. And it's going to be equal to new wait for seconds update speed. So we'll wait for the update speed to happen before we do anything. While enabled, we are going to set the destination of the zombie. So zombie dot set destination, and it's going to be target dot transform dot position. There we go. We have that done. It knows where it is now. We are going to, because we need to return something, yield return wait. So we're yielding, how long we want to wait for. Sorry, I said that we waited that time, then we did this. No, we give the position and then we wait before we actually, use it or return back to our code. So we started the coroutine, and that's actually almost everything that we need to do here. We need to do one more function. It's going to be a public void, and it's going to be move zombie. This is going to be how essentially we set their spawn position. So they already move. So we're going to move zombie, and we're going to take a vector3, and we're going to name it close for position. And in here, it's going to be zombie.warp and position. So there we go. We have the zombie controller set up. So let's go over to our WorldBehaviors script. And we're going to add a few variables here. We're going to pretty much be changing all of zombie spawn. Because right now we just spawn one in one location. But we want to spawn, if we take a look, in any of these 4 locations. And we're going to spawn between them randomly and within them randomly. And so we're going to be taking a little bit of a page out of the pellet grabber series. In fact, I actually just copied and pasted that code in my initial rendition of this and then edited it. So if you've done the pellet grabber one and you got that code, feel free to grab it, copy and paste it in here, then alter it as you need to. It'll save you a lot of typing. But let's start off with our actual variables. So we're going to add in here another serialized field. And you don't necessarily need, actually, do you need to? I guess you don't. I think it should be serialized, but you could just, not, you have it private and set the value in code. I'm trying to recall if this, I believe this one is for the amount of zombies and not just telling us how many there are. It's going to be an integer zombie count. And then we're going to add in our actual spawn zones. They're all going to be serialized field. And the first one is going to actually be the time between spawns. So integer time between spawns. And actually, I want to do it like this. It's not going to be a function. So we're going to put our underscores. And we're just going to have it set to 1 by default. So it's 1 second in between. Serialized field, the in spawn. All of these guesses are incorrect. But I just wanted the serialized field. So we're going to do transform. And it's going to be spawn zone. And then we're going to name it 1. And we'll just copy and paste this and change it for each one. So 1, 2, 3. Why did it go there? I don't know why it's wanting to go down there, but okay. 1, 2, I'll just copy this whole thing. Number 4, 2, 3, 4. And then you would change this if you only had 3 locations, and only 3 of these. If you have 10, you can have 10 of them. I'm going to just have these 4. We're not going to do anything to spawn agent, so we can go ahead and minimize this. And for spawn zombie, we're going to actually change that to a coroutine. The spawn zombie is going to become an enumerator. Enumerator spawn zombie. And we're going to have a public void call, or public void call spawn zombie. And in here, all that we're going to do is start coroutine and spawn zombie. We want to, tack these on there. There we go. And it's mad because we're not returning something, but don't worry, we will be. So in here, we're going to grab our locations. So vector 3. Just all my typing errors. Vector 3. And we're going to name it spawn zone 1 and chords. And it's going to equal to spawn zone 1 dot transform dot position. And that's it. I did try local positioning, so I was like, oh, everything else we use local position for. Don't do that. It breaks it, and they don't spawn in the correct areas. Just use normal position. And we're going to duplicate this, and we're going to change it to 2, 3, and 4. And then change all of these ones as well. So there we go. So every time we call spawn zombie, we will be getting, a new location. So new chords for each. Actually, this time we're, it's the same chords each time, but we're getting these positions each time. And then you could up here make it a global variable if you want. I figured it is better to have it as a local one, but whichever you'd prefer. And then the spawn zombie count, if it is, not equal to 0 and remove the zombies, that's all the same. We don't need to change that, but we will down here have a for loop of int I equals 0. I is less than the zombie count. And this is where it becomes very similar to the pellet grabber series, because we're just, iterating through however many we want. Now, this is where it's going to matter for how many spawn zones you have. The more you have, the more work it's going to be. The less you have, the less work. And also, if you just copied and pasted them, it'll make it a lot easier than if you make them all different sizes as well. But we're going to go into here. And the one thing I want you guys to know, for no matter what size spawn area you have, I guess it doesn't necessarily matter too much here, but in like the screenshots I showed you, I had one where there's barriers going around the sides. They'll spawn outside that if they're too close to the edge, like too close to these areas where they can't walk. And so you're going to want to use the formula size divided by 2 minus 1. Now, minus 1 I just threw in there because divided by 2 I thought would be good, and then they would still show up on the outside. So like, okay, just move everything over by 1. You might be able to get away with a smaller value, but minus 1 is what I went with. And essentially it's, you're in the middle here, so you want the radius. So you're only going to spawn this far, but then minus 1 just slightly over. And that keeps everything in a nice area within our visual representation. So here we can do a vector3, and we're going to name it random spawn zone. Keep capitalizing zone. Spawn zone 1 chords. And this is going to be equal to spawn zone 1 chords. I don't know why it's mad about that. That's correct. There we go. Plus new vector3. And it's going to be random.range. And this is where the values are going to come in. I'm just going to put, for right now, a filler, -1 to 1. And then a value of 1f. They have a rigid body, so they'll fall down to the proper height. I just don't want them in the ground because they won't, pop up to the proper height. And random.range -1 to 1. And that's good. But let's hop over to here, and I just saved, so it's going to have to load. It's the size divided by 2, so let's look at spawn area 1, and they'll all be the same. In fact, this is spawn area 1. We have, if I look at the visuals here, in fact, let's go ahead and bring this up, make it small so we can see, bring up my calculator as well. I have that bound to a key on my keyboard. That's how I was able to bring it up so quick. You just, go down here and type in calculator, or however you have your calculator set up. And we're working right here, so it's 10. You could also do rough estimates as well. I like to do the full one just to make sure I'm getting the correct numbers. If you round up, then you would be outside of this region, and then they might spawn where you don't want them to spawn. But this divided by 2 minus 1, oops, I clicked off that, -1, and I can just copy and paste this. And then we can use, I believe, no, this is for the x value. Yeah, we want to do different for y, but this will be the negative. You can go that way in the negative direction and in the positive direction. Oh, and make sure you put the f as well. I didn't put f for float. We're using float values. So then if I go and I clear this, we look here, I get 9.92. I'm just going to do that. I'm not going to add in all of those other numbers. It's a very long number. We're already subtracting 1, so that I think makes up for any leeway. We'll go here, -3.96 and 3.96. I'm very good at getting the same sizes, because this is the third time I've done it, and they're always right around the same size, like within 0.1 or so. Actually, these ones are off by 0.4, so I don't know. I made them more square this time, I suppose. But we'll save that. We don't need this open anymore because they're all the same size. And we're just going to copy and paste this for each one, and we'll change it. So 2, 3, and 4. Change this to spawn zone 2, 3, 4. And we want to use chords 4, 3, and 2. There we go. We got our random areas now. So every time we go through a spawn in a new zombie, we get a new random area for each one. We haven't decided which one we're going to spawn in yet. And that we're going to do right here. We're going to have another vector3. But this one's going to be an array. And we're going to call it random area. And it is going to be equal to, and actually I wanted, like that. It's going to be equal to these random chords. It's going to be one of these. This one or this one. The 1 or 2. Or it'll be 3 or 4. Throw down 3 here. Throw down 4. Now right now all that we did was set up the array itself. We didn't, we're not picking anything. This random area is not being used yet, but it will be. Before we go to use it though, we want to make sure that we, don't go on infinitely. This isn't, I think, as much of an issue because the zombies move. Unlike with Pellet Grabber, the pellets stayed still, and so we wanted a counter to make sure that we didn't want to overlap, and we didn't want to run into an infinity problem. I don't think it's much of an issue here. But regardless, we're going to have an int counter. We're going to equal it to 0. And then just like in Pellet Grabber, if you followed that one, this might look familiar. Cool, good, distance good. I copied this directly over. We're going to create a zombie. In fact, I can just... Oops, I didn't want to do that. I can just copy and paste from here. ZombieController, new zombie. We're going to instantiate it. We're going to set the environment as well. We can take this. And right in between, don't probably necessarily need to do it in between, we're going to have new zombie dot target. And it's going to equal to the AgentController transform. So now we know the target is following the zombie. We didn't set it in here, but we are setting it in here, which works because we're using a prefab, and in Unity, we look, actually, I didn't realize I had my other one open. Or do I have two of the same? No, I just have the other one open. I didn't realize I had that open. So in here, if we look at the zombie prefab, we're able to, if I look at the, do I not have the script saved? Do I have the right one open? I think I do. Was it in here? Yeah, my target. Oh, maybe, no, it's public. It should be showing. I don't know why it's not showing, but there should be a thing here. Maybe it'll update in a little bit. Or is this the wrong script? ZombieController. No, that should be the correct script. I don't know why it's not, updating. But okay, anyways, it would normally be here, and you can't drag the agent in. Hopefully it'll show up in a moment, and I'll be able to show it. Maybe it's because of these errors, because we haven't finished the scripts yet in WorldBehavior. It's angry about that. That could be it. New zombie, named new zombie does not exist. Oh, yeah, because I don't want to be setting... Oh, wait, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm reading this as if it's this. Okay, this is good here. And we want to set the vector location. There's going to be a default location here. But instead of a new vector 3, we're going to set it equal to random area. And it's going to be a random range. Random.range of 0. You can put the correct parentheses, not bracket. 0 and random area dot length. That when we use random, we're using the length because this is saying 0 to 4, but it is non-inclusive of the end. So really it's 0 to 4, but not including 4. So 0 to 3, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. And I think I have an extra, why is it mad? Array length cannot be used like this. Oh, because there's not supposed to be any parentheses. There we go. And I don't think that one needs to exist. Okay, cool. So now we have a random zombie location. Now we're going to have our special cases. And all of this is still going to be within our for loop. We're going to have an if the spawn zombie list dot count is equal to 0, meaning this is the very first one that we spawn. Then we want the new zombie.transform. Actually, I don't know if we necessarily want any of these. I'll leave them for right now, and we'll see if we want it. But new underscore zombie dot move zombie, and we're going to give it the zombie location because we already have a spawned in zombie. When we first go through this, the zombie just spawns in. And so we don't care. It's not going to overlap with anything. They're not going to overlap with other zombies, I should say. And it shouldn't overlap with anything else unless you have something in the spawn area besides the visual, representation of the spawn area. And then, actually, yeah, we can take this right here. We're using it. I don't think I need this one. We're going to get rid of that. If I end up needing it, I'll just type it out. But oops, repair that. So now we add, it to the list because we have a zombie. We've moved it into the area. And then we want to yield, because this is a, enumerable, or I enumerator for a coroutine. We want to yield return new wait for seconds, and we're going to wait for time between spawns. We don't want to spawn another one until this time has gone up, and you can make it 5 seconds, 10 seconds, however long you want. Probably even adapt this to spawn them in batches, so I keep track of how many have spawned and then wait for a certain amount of time before you allow any more to spawn. I just have them go as a constant stream of zombies being created. But you could make it kind of like a wave sort of thing, and maybe increase the value stuff. It'll all be cool stuff to do. But for the zombie count, if it is the first one, we are done. Else, and I actually do an else if here. Probably unnecessary, but I kind of just want to, have an else if, so that way it's just when you're reading it, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, that's what's going on here. So if it is not equal to 0, you could just put, actually, yeah, you could just have an else and none of this, but I figured, just to, specify. I guess I'm just saying that over and over again to justify it to myself, but it's not really necessary, I don't believe. For int k equals 0, if k is less than the spawn zombie list.count k++, and then if the counter is less than 10, then we're going to do it. If it's over, then we're saying, hey, that we're in an infinite loop here, or it may very become an infinite loop. There's no good spawn locations. We're going to just get out of this. We're not doing it anymore. Not as much of an issue as I was saying with zombies that move, but with any other immovable objects, or if you just have a ton of zombies, like, I want to put 500 here. It might be, worth having this counter there. But we're going to check if the distance good, or we're going to set it, I should say, and we're going to use check overlap, which is going to be the exact same code that we use in the pellet grabber series. We're going to specify what it is in a second, but we're going to put a zombie location. And actually, do we already have it? Because it's understanding that I wanted to put the zombie list k, except I want the dot transform dot local position. And 1f is going to be the distance between them. So let's go down and actually create our check overlap. It's going to be a public bool. I'm going to name it check overlap, just as we have written there. And it is going to take a vector3, and I'm going to copy these in because I just don't want to have to write them. And I have them upper lowercase like functions. It's good practice to have everything lowercase for variables, but I have them like this. It's old code, and I still keep doing it accidentally with some things, as I'm sure you've noticed, especially when I'm accidentally writing them as that way. I'm trying to break that habit. Vector3, already existing object. And then if, we want to set the float distance first, or the min distance, so distance. I'm going to actually change it, between objects equals vector3 dot distance, and we're going to put these two in here. So this one and this one. So we're getting the distance value between them. Let's go ahead and make this lowercase. And if do we have a min distance? Oh, I forgot to put that in here. That's why. Float min, I'm going to just do the camel case. Min distance wanted. If min distance wanted, if that is less than or equal to the distance between objects, which means that it is a good spawn location, just return true. Otherwise, return false. It is bad. It is not a good distance. So now we have our check overlap. And if distance good does not if it's not good, if it equals false, then we want to set a new zombie location. The zombie location is going to be equal to random area, and as you can see, I'm doing the camel case thing. And we're going to just copy and paste this actually. Instead of writing it all out, it's the same code. We just pick a new area, essentially. And K minus minus. And we don't need to put the debug log. You can put a debug log right there that just says, too close to other zombies. That way you can see they're not spawning in. What's going on? You can see if this is being called or not, this if statement. But otherwise, otherwise for down here, or if, we break out of this if statement, if the counter is 10 or greater, otherwise K equals, we just want to break out of the loop. And you could probably just use a break command, but I just set K equal to count. So then that way we're at the end. Break out of the for loop. And then we want to pop down here, and we're going to set the new zombie location. The new zombie dot move zombie, and it's going to be zombie location. Basically what we did up here. In fact, I will just copy and paste this, so I don't have to write it. You can do the same thing. And that should be it. Oh, sorry, there's actually going to be one more. We're going to put it right down here. And it's going to be a public int, if I can spell public. Public int get zombie count. And it's just going to be for the remaining amount of zombies, because we need to know that for when we end. As of right now, when we shoot one zombie, it ends. The episode ends. We don't want that. We want it to be when they're all over. And it's essentially just a getter. Basically like a setter and a getter. Spawn zombie list dot count. We're just going to return the count. And so that's good. That should be all of our world behaviors. So now we can hop on over to our agent controller. And there's not going to be much that we need to do here. In here, we can change this to call spawn zombie. And then down here, when we hit a zombie, we're still going to get points. But then if WorldBehaviors dot get zombie count, if it is less than or equal to 0, so if somehow we end up as a negative, it covers our bases for that. We shouldn't end up with a 1, but just in case something happens and you end up there, maybe you accidentally delete one or something like that. We'll actually, that wouldn't even work. I guess if you added one, I'm not sure how you would get there to where this would be necessary, but just to be safe. And then we have just one last thing to do, and it's in the gun controller script. It is one line inside of here to start our coroutine, and then we want to call world behaviors. And did I actually name it upper or lower? No, I don't know. Oh, maybe I'm creating something here. Yeah. Serialized field. We're going to want to add in a world behaviors. And I'll just keep the, actually, no, I'll change it. I'll be good. World behaviors. Copy this, replace that. The world behaviors dot spawn zombie list. Why isn't it happy about me doing this? Dot remove. What's it not happy about? Start coroutine. The namespace world behaviors cannot be found. Are you missing? No, I shouldn't be. Behaviors. Yeah, it's capital B. Let me just try retyping it. World behaviors. It's not, I don't know why we'll see if it's still angry in a second. Zombie list dot remove hit dot transform dot parent dot game object, or sorry, not dot game object, dot get component ZombieController. And then we throw the little parentheses on at the end. It's still inaccessible due to, I might need to change it to public, in which case we didn't really need that getter. But I might have changed this to public. I'm looking at my other script right now. I think I might have just done that to make it easier, and I didn't have to go back and forth. I did. I made it public. We'll just do that right now. Ideally, you'd want to have setters and getters to go back and forth, but I don't know if we necessarily care much about having that right now. Any super good code. It's not like this is wide scale or distributed or anything like that. But now this should all be good. So let's hop into here and make sure everything is set up. So we have world, we have the agent, the zombie, Navmesh, everything's baked. We have our walls, the obstacles, the spawn areas, and the spawn area. Actually, there is something it's mad about. Non-invocable list zombie cannot be used with a method like that. WorldBehaviors. On zombie list dot count. Oh, that's why. There we go. Calling it like it's a function. It's not a function. Wait for everything to load. Clear. Okay, good. We have our spawn areas. We have the agent. Anything that we need to add here? No. In our world, we didn't need to add anything. Zombie count. Let's do 3 zombies. Time between. Oh, and we want to add our spawn locations. So let's go ahead and add all these in. There we go. Then go take a look at our zombie. There we go. We can see target this. Now we should be able to just run it. Now let's see. See if everything runs. We should see some zombies spawn in. 1, 2, 3. Okay, they all spawned in the same area. So let's restart and see. Oh, I also need to change. We will change it after we run this and see them spawn. 1, 2. There we go. 3. There we go. See that? And they're getting different areas, and they all track. They see this is there, so they're going to go around. But let's go over to the agent. My mistake. This should be 3. There we go. And then if I come up here and I duplicate the environment, and let's just move it to right there. And you can see Navmesh doesn't stay. Now let's say I go into here, I go to world, and I bake. Oh, actually it's... Huh. I don't know what that line is going on. Okay, it didn't actually make an issue. Maybe I accidentally fixed that by having it going halfway through the ground. I'm not sure. Let's just see. Duplicate, yeah, the Navmeshes can't be duplicated, is what it's letting me know. But we'll see. Different zombies are spawning. Let's see, can they move through? Waiting for them. They can. Okay, maybe the solution is to have them halfway through the ground here instead of up above. But let's say you do have this issue showing up. What you can do when you go to bake, go into world, select these, unselect them, and then come into world, bake, and then re-enable these. And then it'll work. And it is a pain when you have like 30 environments. So I am liking this. Maybe I'll make sure to experiment more with it and see. But that's going to be it for this video. Next time we're going to do training. Training, I'm still figuring out. You can train in the current state. It does work. I am just trying to figure out the good settings for it. Because, I'll show you guys the different settings and the outcomes that I have next time. In the meantime, it's the same kind of training that I did in the Pellet Grabber series. If you want to train before then and you're not sure how, check that out. You can see how to do it. It's pretty simple. It's if you don't want to change the config, I should say, it's pretty simple. Once you start changing the config, which I do show in that very last video. Again, where I was showing you can train multiple agents, you have to change the config for that and make a custom one. I walk through all of that, and so you can see how to do that. But next time we're gonna just go through, do some training, see different outcomes that we can get, and then for the next video, I think I'm gonna add some custom drops for the zombies, and that'll be it. So yeah, I will see you all next time. See ya. Never mind about ending. I found a couple issues here when I was going through the test for next time in order to have some different training scenarios and stuff. And I was running into an issue. The main fix for it, we forgot to add WorldBehaviors on the weapon. So right now, as it stands, if you have everything that we already had and you go and you run this, it's not going to have any errors to start with. And it's going to be a little weird because it's going to be like, we don't know what this is. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what this is? And hopefully, okay, good. A zombie spawns over here. I have my camera here. I do have a camera script. I just haven't, I didn't implement it in this. And so I'll probably just throw it in and then briefly cover it. But if I can land a shot, there we go. So if we exit here, we can see right here, it's saying that it doesn't know what this is. What that is that it's talking about is this line here. Didn't know what this was. We did have a typo here. We didn't have parent. We just had game object. We want to delete the parent as well, because otherwise what it will do is, the way we have it set up, it's looking at, let's clear that. In fact, let's go ahead and fix this right now so I don't forget. Oh, we got tons of worlds. Let's drag the world we want specifically. But if I go, what was I going to look at? I was going to look at the zombie. We look at the zombie. What was I going to look at for? Oh, yeah, the actual, if I open him up. If we just do, we get rid of parent here, like how we had it, transform game object. If we just do that, it will delete the body, the eyes, the mouth, the teeth. It will leave the parent though, which is the empty game object we have labeled as zombie. When we call to delete the parent, it'll delete the zombie as well. It deletes the entire thing then. And so it'll work well. So forgot about that. We need to add that in. What we could potentially do as well is we have both tagged as zombie. We could probably throw in a dot parent here, and I think it would work. And then we don't have to have the body labeled as zombie. I'm just going to leave it. It works. Feel free to test that out if you guys want. Might be a better way to organize things. I don't think it's that big of a deal, so I'm just going to leave it. Maybe in the future I'll test it. Another issue that I found when I was just going through, and I was going through like old code trying to compare it, as you can see, I was even like, all right, let's just copy and paste this in and see what's going on, and I was still running into issues. Where was it? It was not in the AgentController. I think everything we had here was good. Behavior script, it's in here. Yeah, if we go into the IEnumerator spawn zombie, we come down to the for loop, come down to the if statement, and then the inner for loop here where we have counter. We need to increment the counter. We kind of didn't do that, so it would just, the counter wouldn't matter, it would always be 0. So just increment the counter here. And now, if we go to run it, we won't run into that issue that we just had. Hopefully, we shouldn't. Let me also get out of here so that way, because we don't have the camera script on that. So I'd like to be able to see kind of what I'm doing, because it's a little hard to tell up here when you're looking from that far away. I have a third-person camera, and then I have one for looking basically third person, but on the other direction. And so we should be able to come in here and it'll tell us, can I get rid of you? Console real quick. Delete you. There we go. See? 9, 8, 7. That's how many are remaining. And that I just wanted to cover that. Right now I'm controlling him. But I do have a couple brains here that ready to show you guys some stuff. And then hopefully I'm thinking this next one will go well. I was trying to train them and I'm like, why aren't they learning anything? It's just always -15. That's why. All right. that was it. Just wanted to add that on. Actually, this ended up being like almost 5 minutes for this. So yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. I think that's all the bugs.